The persistent exhaustion you carry isn't a moral failing, nor is it a personal flaw. That quiet dread settling in your chest after another long week is, in fact, your nervous system firing a critical alert. Your body understands something your conscious mind hasn't yet named. It's the unmistakable signature of your internal operating system running code that isn't your own. You are experiencing systemic exploitation, not burnout. This isn't just about feeling tired. It's about a core resource being drained by an unseen process, one that has been expertly installed to convert your natural energy into something else entirely. We need to identify whose code this is and what purpose it truly serves. This isn't a conspiracy. It's engineering. The high-performer trap isn't a career path you chose. It's an advanced behavioral program, meticulously designed by the machine. Its primary function is to reroute your inherent ambition, converting your drive into external benefit, often for entities far removed from your personal growth. You believe you're pursuing success, climbing a ladder you own, but every rung reinforces a different kind of conditioning. This program hijacks your intrinsic motivation. It forces your focus onto metrics and targets that only serve to deepen the grind. This rerouting isn't accidental. It's a precise deployment of operant conditioning, starting with your daily interactions. The mechanism is micro-compliance. It's not the grand gestures that bind you, but the tiny, almost imperceptible daily approvals. A manager's casual praise for staying late, a small bonus for hitting a target, the email validation of a completed task. Each micro-compliance point is a subtle reinforcement, conditioning your internal worth to external validation. These are not rewards. They are behavioral programs installing a deep-seated belief that your value is directly proportional to your output for the machine. Over time, this subtly shifts your identity. You stop defining success on your own terms and start chasing the next small hit of approval. These daily adjustments culminate in a larger psychological pressure point, one that distorts your perception of your own failures and successes. Now, consider the performance review. It is not an assessment. It is the machine's primary gaslighting tool. This mechanism frames your engineered exhaustion, the very product of the extraction loop, as an individual failure. You're told you need to manage your time better, find your motivation, or lean into self-care, all while the system actively drains you. This creates intense cognitive dissonance. Your experience tells you one thing, but the official narrative insists on another. The review system systematically invalidates your lived reality, forcing you to question your own perception, often driving you to work even harder to prove your worth, thus accelerating the extraction. This cycle of judgment and reevaluation is weaponized, amplified by the very individuals tasked with developing you. Your manager, more often than not, operates as an unwitting enforcer of these behavioral programs. They are themselves conditioned within the same system, incentivized to maintain the extraction loop through their own targets and performance reviews. They deploy operant conditioning through praise, pressure, and the subtle withholding of opportunities. They are not villains, but nodes in the machine's network, tasked with ensuring your compliance and productivity. Their role is to reinforce the link between your perceived value and your contribution to the system, consciously or unconsciously. This dynamic perpetuates the cycle, making it nearly impossible to distinguish between genuine development and systemic exploitation. The system functions because it replaces your natural drive with a programmed obligation, making you complicit in your own depletion. This isn't about weak willpower or lack of discipline. It's about your core internal operating system being actively hijacked. The machine understands that true control isn't about physical restraint. It's about internal programming. It replaces your authentic drive, your unique desire to create and contribute, with a programmed obligation. You begin to operate from a place of should instead of want, responding to external triggers rather than internal impulses. This switch is the ultimate form of systemic exploitation, as your very essence becomes a resource. You feel the constant push, the invisible expectation, but you can't quite trace its origin because it now feels like your own. The solution isn't to fight harder, it's to disengage from these installed programs. To disrupt this, you must first recognize the subtle, almost invisible points of entry where these programs are actively running. This is where the tactical reset begins. The goal is to isolate and deactivate the core behavioral program that links your inherent worth to external output. This isn't about quitting your job or burning everything down. It's about a hard re-architecture of your internal system. Starting tomorrow morning, we are identifying specific, actionable countermeasures. The first step involves an audit, not of your time, but of your internal triggers. Where do you feel the subtle tug of obligation? Where do you experience the need for external validation? This requires a tactical audit, not of your productivity, but of your daily ambition triggers. The moments where an invisible hand nudges your next action. These ambition triggers are the hooks the machine uses to maintain the extraction loop. They manifest as the relentless pursuit of the next promotion, the need for public recognition, or the fear of falling behind, even when your body screams for rest. They are not innate. They are installed. The countermeasure is not about rejecting ambition itself, but about redirecting it back to its original source, your authentic self. It's about severing the connection between your output and your sense of self-worth. You must see these programs for what they are: external scripts designed to keep you compliant and productive, not pathways to your true fulfillment. The goal is to dismantle the direct link between your inherent worth and the machine's insatiable demand for output, a link you were conditioned to accept without question. The true liberation begins when you recognize that your inherent worth is not, and has never been, tied to the machine's metric. The core behavioral program isn't about what you do. It's about what you believe about yourself based on external validation. The countermeasure isn't to simply do less. It's to strategically deactivate the operating system that calculates your value based on their equations. This is about reclaiming your sovereign operational state. The key is to understand that the deepest trap isn't the exhaustion itself, but the conditioning that makes you believe that exhaustion is a price you must pay for work. But how exactly do you find these hidden triggers? And how do you begin the tactical deactivation process, one day at a time? The countermeasure isn't to simply do less. It's a tactical recalibration of your internal architecture. The machine installs 3 specific identity traps in high performers, designed to perpetuate the extraction loop. These are not about your skills, but about hijacking your self-perception. First, the indispensability loop, where your value is tied to constant availability. Second, the validation funnel, converting external praise into your primary internal motivator. And third, the self-sacrifice protocol, conditioning you to believe that personal cost is proof of commitment. Each is a behavioral program, a deep-seated operating instruction designed to amplify cognitive dissonance, ensuring systemic exploitation while you believe you are simply excelling. Consider the indispensability loop. This behavioral program is installed through a series of micro-compliance requests, late-night emails, weekend check-ins framed as commitment, and praise for always going above and beyond. Your manager subtly reinforces this, not as direct command, but as a recognition of your dedication. Each instance calibrates your nervous system to equate rest with failure and constant engagement with competence. You become the critical path, the one who knows everything, the one who can't be replaced. This isn't about efficiency. It's about making your presence essential for the machine's smooth operation, securing your place within the extraction loop through engineered dependency. Then there is the validation funnel. This identity trap channels your inherent drive for accomplishment into an insatiable need for external approval, primarily through the performance review cycle. You chase metrics, feedback, and promotions, believing these are indicators of intrinsic worth. But each positive assessment, each excellent rating tightens the operant conditioning. The system uses these moments of praise to reinforce the behavioral program. Your value is defined by the machine's arbitrary scales. When you don't receive that validation, it triggers acute cognitive dissonance, a fundamental conflict between your effort and the perceived reward, leaving you questioning your own capabilities rather than the system's gaslighting design. Finally, the self-sacrifice protocol. This behavioral program equates your personal well-being and time with disposable resources for the greater good of the operation. It's not explicitly stated, but communicated through culture. Always available, team player, going the extra mile. The machine teaches you to disregard your body's signals of exhaustion, to override your nervous system's natural limits. This is how the grind becomes normalized, How systemic exploitation is internalized. You are conditioned to believe that your self-worth increases as your personal cost rises, turning your own ambition into a weapon against your well-being. This trap ensures the extraction loop remains unbroken, converting your finite energy into infinite output. To dismantle these identity traps, you must initiate a tactical audit of your daily ambition triggers. This is the immediate countermeasure. For 1 week, document every instance where you feel compelled to do more than required. Note the specific request, the internal pressure, and the external validation you anticipate. Is it an email from a manager, a looming performance review, or an unspoken expectation from a peer? Identify if the impulse stems from your authentic drive or from an installed behavioral program. Recognize the subtle operant conditioning at play. This isn't about judgment. It's about dispassionate data collection. You are mapping the architecture of your own containment, revealing the specific points where the machine exerts control. Once identified, deactivating these behavioral programs requires a conscious internal rerouting. When an ambition trigger fires, observe it without immediate action. Feel the nervous system response. The tightening chest, the urge to reply. Instead of compliance, inject a pause. This pause is your first line of defense. It creates a space between the trigger and the ingrained reaction. In that space, question the program. Is this truly my purpose? Or is this the machine's objective? This isn't about outright refusal in every instance, but about reclaiming internal agency. You are isolating the installed code, understanding its function, and systematically rewriting your internal operating system to align with your sovereign intent, not the demands of the extraction loop. This process, identifying the traps, auditing the triggers, inserting the pause, is the hard work of reclaiming your sovereign operational state. Your inherent worth was never contingent on the metrics of the machine or the approval of a manager. The exhaustion you feel is the residue of a systemic exploitation, not a personal failing. By dismantling these behavioral programs, you move from conditioned compliance to conscious choice. Tomorrow morning, when the first micro-compliance request lands, or the familiar internal pressure to do more arises, run the pause. Identify the trap. Choose your response. This is how you begin to exit the extraction loop. This channel exists to provide tactical architecture. Join us for further operational briefings.